This is a true story about how my sister went missing. When I first moved into the neighborhood, Mr. Finch was already there. He lived alone in the house next to mine. He was old, quiet, and polite in a way that felt rehearsed. He kept to himself, mowed his lawn every Sunday morning, and never left his porch light off, even in the daytime. He had a hobby that everyone in town whispered about when he wasn't around. He collected companion dolls, or so everyone thought. They wouldn't have been cheap ones, either. They looked too real. Skin with pores, eyelashes, freckles, veins under the wrists, everything. He dressed them in sundresses and sweaters, and sat them around his living room like a family frozen mid-conversation. His side of the story was that he restored damaged models for resale. Nobody questioned it, and nobody ever saw him get deliveries of fresh damaged models, but somehow he always had a rotating menagerie of fresh faces around his living space. People joked about the lonely old man behind his back, but that was it. At night, I'd sometimes hear a low humming sound from his house, like a generator running in the basement, only deeper in pitch. I tried to ignore it. I had no reason to suspect he was anything more than an eccentric collector, hobbyist doll repairman, or possibly even just a weird old pervert. That was before my sister disappeared. Her name was Lydia. She lived about 40 miles away, just on the other side of the nearest major city. She worked nights at a diner and was a college student by day. One Thursday, she clocked out from her shift and got in her car, but never made it home. Her car was found by the side of the highway, keys still in the ignition. Her boyfriend called me after the first full day of her being missing, asking if she had come to visit without telling him. I drove straight to her house, then to her local PD. The police were of no help. Girls her age run away all the time, trying to find themselves. "We're sure she'll show up in a few days," the officer behind the desk told me, in a mock comforting tone, and handed me back my filled-out witness statement without even signing it. A week later, a new figure appeared in Mr. Finch's window. The doll's face was obscured by a curtain, but it had the same brown hair as Lydia, the same silver bracelet she wore every day, and the same uniform she'd been wearing when she went missing, the company logo emblazoned over one of the chest pockets. Then I blinked, and it was gone. At first, I thought grief was playing tricks on me. I even laughed at myself a little. I decided I had to see for myself, even if it was only to quell my growing anxiety. The next morning, I built up the courage to walk across my yard, around the fence between our properties, and knock on his door. He answered right away, wearing the same green cardigan he always did, and the same friendly expression. A smell like the combination of formaldehyde and wires burning wafted out of his house. "Morning, Gret," he said softly. "Something wrong?" I tried to sound casual, reaching for something to talk about long enough to take a peek through the partially open door. "Those dolls of yours, you ever think about selling them?" He smiled like he was in on a joke I didn't understand, and responded with the same soft voice he answered the door with. "Oh, they're not for sale. Not by me, at least. The creator sends me his defects, and I make them perfect." Over his shoulder, I saw one of the dolls seated in the hallway. There was a thin silver cable running from a collar on the base of its neck down onto the floor, and extending back beyond the bend in the hallway where I could no longer see. He followed my gaze and saw what I was looking at, then the politeness in his face shifted to suspicion. "Battery charger, Gret. Some of the models are really fancy, move on their own and everything. Don't look too much into it." He closed the door without another word. That night, the humming was louder than ever. It wasn't coming from his house this time, it felt like it was underground, like the whole block was vibrating. I waited until after midnight, when I thought he would be sound asleep, and circled to the back of his house. The back door was locked up tight, and all of the windows around it had thick curtains blocking my view inside. One of the basement windows was cracked open, though. I climbed through. The smell hit first. Antiseptic mixed with melted rubber, and a faint hint of something floral. Rows of dolls sat in the dark, each one connected to a web of cables feeding into a single metal console. Their skin shone faintly under the fluorescent light. This was the closest I had ever been to one of the dolls, and from this distance I could tell that their eyes weren't glass. They were too wet. I stepped closer, glancing up and down the row of dolls, and noticing slight movements in a few of the dolls. Some of them appeared to be breathing, slow, shallow, almost imperceptible. A few had odd twitches in their limbs, as if a muscle was spasming. One blinked at me as my eyes passed over it, and at the end of the row, the doll with Lydia's uniform turned slightly towards me, and I could see the face now. It was her. A single teardrop slid down her cheek, towards the corner of her mouth. "Lydia?" I whispered. A faint sound escaped her, like a hum caught between a sob and a sigh. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Mr. Finch was standing behind me. I hadn't heard him come in, and I had no idea how he got that close without me detecting him. He didn't sound angry. He sounded proud, as if he were a farmer showing off his prize-winning livestock. "Don't worry, they're not dead," he said eagerly. "They'll never die, and they'll never look a day older," he chuckled. His facial expression was that of an artist, admiring his craft after a long day's work. They volunteered for a trial of a product guaranteed to make them look young forever. "So you froze them?" I yelled at him, tears of rage filling my eyes and beginning to cloud my vision. "Freeze?" He laughed quietly. "Such an ugly word." "No, Clara. I stabilized them." He ran a hand through Lydia's hair. His fingers left faint oil marks on her temple. Their bodies, their cells, all preserved, suspended in perfect harmony. They can see, hear, even feel. They just can't move much. The ones that can move freely after the process. Well. He smiled, sad and proud at once. They don't stay themselves for long. He looked at Lydia, almost tenderly. "She's awake, you know. She knows you're here." Something in me snapped. I lunged at him. He caught my wrist with shocking speed. His skin was buzzing faintly, like a live wire. "Now," he murmured, tightening his grip. "Don't make me start over with you too." Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on my own couch. My head ached. I walked to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. A huge bruise covered my left cheek, and both of my eyes were blackened and swollen. I felt like I had been hit by a truck. By the time I stumbled out of my own house, I could see that Mr. Finch's house was surrounded by police cars. I tried to walk over to talk to them, to tell them what I saw, to tell them to save my sister, tell them anything really, but I got turned away before I ever reached the door. Not even a word, just a flick of the officer's wrist. I was too dizzy to fight, and I figured if that many police officers were there, they'd already found her and the others. I went to lie down of my own volition, before my body decided to do it for me. By the time I woke up, they were gone. No flashing lights, no police officers, no police tape, even. In their place were vans, black, windowless, all with temporary plates. Men in dark tactical gear jumped out of the vans and moved into the house in pairs, their faces hidden by black masks. On each of their uniforms glowed a faint white symbol, a triangle inside a circle. They carried silver tools that buzzed softly as they walked. One by one, they wheeled tarp-covered cages and containers out of the house. From my window, I watched in silence. One cage shifted as it was wheeled beneath the streetlights. Inside, through the bars, I saw my sister. Her eyes were open. She was visibly breathing and had a mannequin spread across her face. Her hands gripped the bars, which were bending outward slightly. I immediately ran downstairs and out the front door, ready to bolt to my sister's aid, but one of the men noticed me and stopped me before I could reach the cage. "That's your sister, isn't it? Lydia? She's still in there, somewhere," he said quietly. "We might be able to bring her back, since she hasn't been like this for very long. This isn't the first time we've dealt with this," he told me, with sincere compassion in his voice. "You're the one who tipped off our informant at the PD, by the way. This wouldn't have been possible without you. Sorry about the way he acted towards you, but we can't have things like this on the public record. We'll be in contact if we have any luck." He turned to walk away, but looked back at me, his face contorted into something like fear. "If you see her again, and she isn't being escorted to your front door by us, do not let her in." He handed me a card, smooth, matte black, warm to the touch. No name, no number. Just the same symbol that rested above the left breast pocket on his tactical gear. When I held it tightly, I could feel a faint pulse, like a heartbeat. Keep this card on you at all times. If she does come back for you, she won't be able to touch you as long as you have it. Then he walked away. The vans finished loading and left shortly after. By morning, Mr. Finch's house was gone. Not demolished. Gone. The lot was leveled, and the grass that grew over it matched the surrounding lots, without a single indication of fresh sod being laid. No mention of the property showed up online, and nothing about it being removed was in the newspapers or on TV. Nobody mentioned Mr. Finch. Nobody mentioned the dolls. Nobody mentioned Lydia, not even her boyfriend, who has refused to talk to me ever since what happened. Last night, I heard a tapping on my bedroom window. Soft. Slow. 3 taps. Pause. 3 again. I looked up. In the reflection, I saw her. Lydia. A smile spread across her face. Hand raised, mid-wave. I grabbed the card the man had given me and gripped it tight. The light in my bedroom went out, and I heard a shriek from